All right, we are live with another episode of Fuel a Crutch Podcast. This is season 3, episode 3. I've got two special guests with me today. I'm going to give everybody a chance to get on so we can get some viewers. I'm going to drop the intro, and then my two guests will come on, and we'll just get to it. Be prepared for a good show. I've known these guys majority of my life. They've always been hilarious, and they mean everything that they say. So let's get to it. So like I said, we're back with another episode, Fuel a Crutch Podcast. Let's talk about it, season 3, episode 3. I've got my friends, my brothers, Alvah and Adriel Hansbro. Go ahead and welcome yourselves.
How we doing, y'all?
What's happening?
How y'all doing today?
I'm doing well, man.
I'm good. I'm just chilling, man. Just a little tired, but good. Can't complain.
Cool. So I always like to do a little icebreakers, and with y'all being twins, I think this ought to be interesting. Starting off with something real easy: French toast or pancakes?
French toast.
It depends on who cooking it, but I'm going pancakes.
Growing up as a kid, which one was y'all doing? Because that means mom was cooking.
She did both. But her French toast was fire, though.
I knew y'all ass was spoiled. I knew it. Sausage or bacon?
That was tough. Bacon, though.
I mean, I would have to go with bacon, too, if anything.
We grew up on turkey bacon, though.
Absolute.
Oh, man, I remember when my mom made that switch, and I was a little upset.
Yeah.
Let's go Barry Sanders or Walter Payton?
Oof. See,
what's the question though? Which one's better, or who I'm taking?
Who you taking and why?
Walter Payton, because of the time period for which he ran.
And
I would just say
I would say Walter Payton because the Bears ain't been shit since then.
That's true.
And I would say Lions ain't either, but then this year they showed up. I would say Walter Payton because I think just all the intangibles that he brought: size, speed,
he threw,
work ethic, everything. I don't know. I mean,
he could throw the ball, he could catch the ball. He did that. Barry Sanders was a running back.
He was a running back.
True. Fair enough.
A very, very, very good one, but he was a running back. And you never know. Like, there could have been a lot of things that changed if Barry Sanders didn't play for the Lions at the time, right? We don't know. There's a lot of unknowns, and he did what he did with what he had.
Yeah. If he played Dallas like Emmitt Smith, hey,
that's a different story, right?
Totally different story. Now you got an offensive line, and this dude can have longevity. This dude can he can actually play the game without having to make every play. You know what I'm saying? He had to make every run that he made, opposed to Emmitt Smith just had to hit the hole and find it and go.
So this is a good one for y'all from me because I know a little bit of background. So which one y'all prefer, basketball or football?
Depends on the season, because you got to throw in baseball there too.
Yeah.
That's the sport.
Look, I was gonna ask. See, y'all answer that question first, and then I got a deeper question.
Right, we grew up a baseball family, so that's one of those things that a lot of folks don't understand.
I don't think people do, because I was definitely gonna ask, what was y'all sport-wise? What was your first love?
Whichever season it was.
If it was basketball season, it was basketball. If it was football season, it was football. there was baseball season, it was baseball. The one thing that I recommend everybody that I'm trying to do with my kids and make sure they understand is that we didn't watch sports. People don't really understand that either. We didn't watch football. We didn't watch basketball. We watched baseball all the time. I mean, if
Cubs,
Atlanta was on and you
Braves.
had Greg, Tom Glavine, or Smokes pitching, we was watching them. If obviously San Francisco was on, we was going to watch Barry Sanders. That's because my father. But
Barry Bonds.
we grew up Indians fans, so we love them through and through. So, and still till this day, now it's Guardians, but baseball. That's the only sport I really truly watch besides college football.
That's amazing because baseball is so boring to me. I played baseball early. Actually made one of the all-star teams. But it was just so much losing, and I think it might have just been the environment. And I was like, I'm done.
That's because you made the baseball team all-star for the softball, our South Side team. That's why
I did.
Yeah,
we got our ass whooped.
The South Side baseball wasn't serious.
No, it was a sport that really wasn't introduced to us.
And
we
that's
were serious
a shame.
over there. Yeah, we were serious at East Madison was serious, and West Madison was pretty good. And then it was Kennedy.
But that's
too.
also
Kennedy was good.
That's also the difference in why I think the basketball and football was so prevalent because of the staple of the Southside Raiders and the Southside Spartans, which Madison Spartans, but which is also, if you think about it, like y'all grew up on the side of town where you should have been playing for the East Side Sharks in Warner Park.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Absolutely.
But that's not where our
Exactly.
families were. That's not where we spent the most of our time. I mean, we grew up in a Barlow house.
Absolutely.
I mean, that was who our babysitter was. We went to preschool at the center. We went to
over there.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, y'all was at CDI?
Yeah, that's where we spent all our time. And before us, and when I say before us, I'm talking about all the kids, other than my sister. That's where my folks were. They spent all the time over there on the South Side. So it was just rightfully so that we did that. Basketball wise, it was a little different just because it was right down the street. We just stuck with ABC.
Oh, so we just about to dive right into it then. So why don't so let's just talk about like the community and how, like you said, the South Side was one of that area where everybody knew everybody supported everybody, and the families all like looked out for each other.
100.
So like, speak to some of those experiences that you can recall and remember.
Shoot. You talking just like the family aspect of it, or just
family, community, the sport, because they all kind of go hand in hand.
They do run. They're synonymous. I mean, and at the end of the day, like he said, we were always at the bar. I mean, Grandma Barlow, that was who she was to us, and all her children were aunts and uncles to us, and I mean, from being and Mama always worked. I mean, she worked for the center. She was on. I mean, my daddy was on all the boards of whether it'll be Southside Raiders, whatever it might be. We used to do all that kind of stuff. Shoot, the block parties. I mean, we was always a part of all of that, and they were a part of all that. And quite frankly, that's something that I do miss because it's so far just. It kind of fell apart a little bit. It's there. It has pieces. It has the little integral parts of it in the same area, same neighborhood, but the neighborhood's not the same. Right. And and that's what we did. And it was that family thing that, man, just going there. We would go there 7:00 in the morning, say for the block party, and we wouldn't be home till 10:30.
And be there all day.
All day. You know what I mean? Shoot, there was times I would go down to Grandma Barlow's, shoot, I just gotta take a nap real quick. You know what I'm saying? So it was great, and that was a huge portion of who we were in our development as athletes, people, whatever it might be. So
yeah, to piggyback on that and expand, I mean, it was obviously the individual families, right? So our family was really tight with the Smiths. We were really tight with the Stanleys. We were really tight with their family. that their extended families as well. But then at the same time, when we were really young, it was when we were still churchgoers. Um, I don't mean to ruffle any feathers if I did on that one, but I mean we used to be churchgoers back in the day, and then unfortunately, sports got involved, and with 5 kids, with uh, our older sister and Ebony Expressions and all the stuff that she used to do over there, and then sports with the 4 boys. I mean, we were doing something every weekend, multiple things every weekend. So, then you had all the Mount Zion connections and just the people that we grew up with, and obviously our daddy made a name for himself, being being around those neighborhoods and being there in his college years, etc., and becoming a street ball guy and being known for his skills on the court. So
and don't
that's where we
apologize.
grew up.
And don't apologize for speaking on the church or whatever, because I think that was another part of our community on the South Side is so many people were connected, whether it be Fountain of Life or Mount Zion. That was a lot of where we were after football practice while we might have been waiting to walk home or waiting for our parents to pick us up.
Absolutely. Me and Adriel actually had that conversation like 2 weeks ago, because it's like, love the old man, but man, he ain't got no concept of time. So, we practice will be over, and we shoot. Next thing you know, we find ourselves, it's 10:30. We still sitting in the shelter. You know what I mean? And after a while, it was just like, all right, let's just go down. Let's just go to Barlow's. And then we started doing it. And then she was like, boys, y'all better come over here every time after practice. If your daddy don't show up, you better come down here. It was like, so it just kind of made that a habit anyways. So we just was like, after practice, we started walking right down there, and we just sat with her. And then, when Pop showed up, I was waiting over here. No, you weren't, Pop. You wasn't waiting.
She would hit us with that. We come over. She's like, "Oh, your daddy picked you up today, huh?"
Yeah. So she already knew.
She knew. So
yeah, man. And for me, like, just having those foundational friendships, even though y'all didn't stay on the South Side, especially as we got older, but just having those connections and connecting with each other. And the South Side was like home for so many, because thinking about Vince and Theo.
Absolutely.
And Aaron Evans Jackson, like after school, they would come to my house to change to go to practice, or when we got out of school early and just waited to go up to practice. So, that was always one of those things, like the way we were able to connect and bond. But then at the same time, it was like we couldn't wait to see y'all in basketball because y'all went and played with ABC.
Yeah,
100%.
So it was always
you had to gauge your skill, see where you was. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, no.
No.
I couldn't wait to play against Alvah, because Alvah might have been the cockiest basketball player that played football ever.
And you know what? I got them skills. Hey, it is what it is.
John Haskins commented on that post I made when I was asking who thought they was the better basketball player, or who would everybody think? And I'm like, John was the only one that said Alvah. And I'm like, I know for a fact Alvah definitely thought it. Even if Adriel scored 40, Alvah was still gonna say, I'm better.
Yeah, he used to run his mouth on that stuff too. He knows. We used to go at it for days, though. This is the thing that y'all don't like. Most people don't go. Like, we've come to hands over playing hustle. Like,
now that don't surprise me.
And then we get done, and then it's just like, all right, let's keep playing. Like, that's how we roll. Like, that's that competitiveness in it, right? But then again, no. Here's the thing. Like, and I'll tell you the truth, because coaching and kids always ask questions, right, about your past, and you try to be hesitant and trying to keep some of that to yourself and not explain to the kids, how good you were or what you accomplished and stuff. It's like, man, this is about you, not me. But since you're asking here, let me tell you a little bit, right?
Right.
But it was one of those things, and they would always ask, like, how'd you get good at juking? How did you get good at this, that, and the other? It's like, one was the fact that we were the little brothers, but then the other is the two of us, right? So a lot of kids these days can't fathom the idea that we didn't learn how to juke people or move because of the juke stick on Madden. We weren't planning to do that. We learned how to do it because we were scared, right? We were playing with our older brother's friend, Will Smith, and they did not stop. They did not stop just because we was itty bitty. And you remember how we was, man. We didn't break a hundo until we were like mid freshman year in high school. Man.
Absolutely.
But they didn't care, man. They would slam us on the ground. They would
flip us. I think that was a piece of the toughness piece because I remember playing with Justin Briscoe, Coach Briscoe's older son, and him and his friends wouldn't care how big or small we were. They was trying to break our neck.
No, and then that's the other thing, the teaching point. Like I teach the kids around in the neighborhood because they always want to be like, oh well, we don't want our kids playing tackle. We want them to play touch. I'm like, what's the point? Why are they going to play football then? I'm like, the best place for you to learn how to tackle and be safe with it is when you don't have anything protecting you. Because when you don't have anything protecting you, what are you going to protect? Your face, your head.
And that's the other piece about why I felt like our group, that the picture that's been floating around on Facebook was like that last dominant, run for the Raiders was think about it. They no longer, like each Raider team has their own team for each grade. But when we were fourth grade, we played on the sixth grade team. And I remember thinking that I was going to get destroyed when we finally got pads on. And I remember first time getting hit by Billy Rogers. Yeah, and I got up like, oh man, that was nothing. I'm good. Let's go.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. Like, you see that today, like Adriel said, it's like, we had a group of friends that was like, oh, let's play touch or soft tackle or something like that. It's like, what the hell is soft tackle? You know what I mean? But we go and like we were grimy. I mean, shoot, we would be in our basement. We called it crunch time. And we would, not to mention it, not only was it football, wrestling was huge. Remember, that's when WWE
no, that's when it was WWF.
WWF. Like, WWF was huge, and everybody had their characters. Everybody had me and Adriel were the Rockers because we was the tag team duo, and literally, it was our group of people. It was Will Smith, Troy Dean, and Troy was always the big one at the time. I still
Troy, too.
Yeah,
we thought he was like 6'7". He
was like 12 feet when we.
Yeah, he wasn't taking it lightly. He would flip us, throw us, toss us, body slam us. Andre was a Bret Hart fan, so he would put us in the damn sharpshooter. And it wasn't. And it's like, y'all, this is real. This is real. This shit hurt. But you know what? It bred that toughness. And we would go up, and we would hit. I remember one time, Troy flipped Adriel, and his heel hit the light bulb fixture in the ceiling, and snapped it in half. I'm just sitting here like, that's what we did, and that's where we bred that toughness.
Oh, by the way, we had a cement floor downstairs.
We were tackling the street.
Briscoe's floor was that way too, and that was the first time so playing football when you wanted to dive over the pile over the top. That was the first time I got introduced to it because Justin Briscoe flipped me when we were playing football in the basement, and I landed right on that cement. So I'm like, man, anything in a football game gonna feel great.
100%.
We used to go in, man. We used to really go in. It was man. So you didn't have cell phones. You didn't have anything. We knew how things was. It was call up everybody in the morning. Hey, let's go out to the field. We would play at Sherman, right? Because Sherman gave us everything. It had basketball courts, it had baseball fields, and it had the big football field. And we would play in the football field. Like these kids these days, I'm telling you, they're just cut from a different cloth. Everything has to be organized and structured. Like we did all the parents didn't have to tell us anything. They knew exactly where to find us. Yeah, they knew exactly where to find us. Like our folks would be driving past all the time. They knew exactly where we were going to be, when we were going to be there.
If they didn't know where we were, we knew what time we had to be home.
We knew exactly when we was going to be home,
Street
right? But then we also stayed together too.
Absolutely.
Yes, we was always together. Everybody was
always together. It was a whole different, like the experience was different, and you were always going to see us. And then we would always bring other people along, and we would get them involved in the same stuff, right? Big Daddy, he used to come over. Lee used to come over, and Derek used to come over, and they used to play with us. They would come and we would play football. We would go
so
around.
We're gonna have to talk about Derek. We're gonna have to talk about Derek because Derek, out of all of us that played, Derek was the one that made it professional. But for most people that don't know, Derek was not the most talented on our teams, not even close. No, and Derek was about to quit several times.
You trying to go controversial on us already?
Oh, quit!
Look at you trying to spice this stuff up.
I'll tell Derek to his face because I remember Derek wanting to quit multiple times.
Yeah. You know what? I remember. So this is what defined me and Adriel growing up, man. And again, our athleticism, our drive, everything that pushed us. Again, it was those older brothers, those older siblings, those people. And when I mean older brothers, older siblings, I am talking about the Wills, the Troys, the Andres, the Tonys as well. And Deion Mannings and a whole bunch of other people in our neighborhood. But the thing is that we hated not being able to do anything and not being able to keep up with them.
Yeah, we had to keep up.
I remember, me and Adriel learned how to flip because when we would go to the Southside Raiders practice and we had, and it would be all those tumblers over there. You know what I'm saying? Terrence and all these cats would be up in there.
Oh, my God. Terrence was a different breed.
That boy used to hit it, right? So me and Adriel was like, we sat back and was like, shoot, we can't do this, So we took it upon ourselves. We would put the pillows on the floor, on the couch, whatever, and we would do it. And I remember Derek tried it one time because Derek was that way. He wanted to follow us all the time like that. So he tried to do a backflip on the couch, and he just flips and goes back straight down on his head, and he just gets up, and we all like, oh, and he laughing, and he just walks out the basement, goes to the stairs, and then you just hear him go, and we like, all of a sudden we go over there, we see it, and he just start running upstairs crying. And it's like, but that's what it was, man.
And then Auntie Rod's gonna start yelling at us. Why y'all do that to the baby?
So that was his first concussion.
Yeah, probably first of many. But that boy, and all of us, and that's what it was. He was keeping up with us, and we were keeping up with the other ones. And that is what we lack today, where kids don't do it. Now we hate on each other.
Yeah,
we all pushed each other, and it was like friendly competition.
100%.
Oh, you better believe that every step of the way, Derek was like, I gotta beat the twins. I gotta beat the twins. I gotta do what the twins are doing. I gotta beat the twins. And every time when we got to high school, I remember our senior year, we played them football at Verona, and we played them, and we stayed and we waited, and we were waiting outside the locker room. And Auntie Roz was talking to her mama, and she was like, "What y'all doing? What y'all doing that to the baby? Why y'all treating the baby like this? Like, we just playing." And Derek was in the locker room, and we were like, "What? He ain't coming out?" She was like, "He'll be out." And we're like, "Nah, he ain't coming out. He don't want to say what's up." Like he in there mad. And we always joke about it because I remember we always talk when I was down there in St. Louis not too long ago with him, and he was bringing it up, and he was like, "Man, I got y'all." I was like, "Nah, Derek, the eagle, the eye in the sky don't lie, man. That hawk always watching. So we still got the film when you got busted, but that's all right, man. Because again, when we weren't around, he stepped up and he did his thing." Right.
I mean, and I was super proud when he got drafted.
100%.
Yeah, he stepped up and did his thing.
And and that's what it's about. And it's about elevating. I'm going to go Tupac real quick, but it's the elevation of today's generation. If we can make them listen, we were listening. People don't listen no more, and everybody is it's if somebody's coaching you, I'm taking offense to it. If somebody's giving you an opinion, they don't listen to old heads no more. And these kids are going so rogue that they're losing their foundation of community. They're losing the foundation of that, the discipline, the attitude, the effort, all those intangibles that you need to be successful. And I know we're going to get into it, so that's almost like a perfect segue to it. But I know when we was talking earlier, and you were like, "Hey, we end up going to Edgewood." You know what I mean? Well, I'm going to be honest with you. That was the greatest decision we were ever forced to make. It was, because that's when I think that process started. That process started of where that community started breaking down, or that foundation started breaking down, was because that's what it was, man. Me and Adriel,
what a little Brock,
always got hated on. You feel what I'm saying? Like, and there was so much talent at East, at West, at La Follette, at Memorial, but you couldn't put it together. Why? Why couldn't you put it together? Why couldn't you be victorious? You know what I mean? Like, you look at all these teams and all these people that just shaped and formed ways for us, all of us, and then it just stopped after that. And we couldn't put things together with all our teams, like our ABC team, as you talked, when we played it for ABC, our ABC team, so much talent, and we won a lot of games. We didn't lose. I mean, shoot, we were always in 6th grade. We had to play up in 7th grade. In 7th grade, we had to play up to the 8th grade. 8th grade, they kicked us out of leagues, and we just had to play in tournaments. But we still weren't as good as we could have been and should have been. Why? Because everybody wanted to get their own. If I shot, 8 other people was like, well, if he shoots, I get to shoot. If Adriel shot, 8 other people was like, well, if he shoots, I get to shoot. Nobody felt that or understood the formula to win. And that is what it takes. It takes a team is everybody used to say and says still.
You're speaking like a coach.
Hey, that's
he
what
says you're speaking like a coach.
If there's no I in team, that's what they say, right? But there is a me, and it takes me, and it takes you, it takes him, and it takes every individual to throw something on that table to make that team possible. Whether that's somebody that says, hey, I'm going to be the rebounder. I'm going to be hustling, doing my rebounding.
Being comfortable in your role, understanding your gifts, your strengths, and 100%. Shining in them.
100%.
Yeah, but we don't live in a world where that's the case.
Not no more.
No.
And again, it's because there's a bag behind things now in a different way, right? Like they put a bag behind, they put money behind somebody saying, hey, if you score this many points, you're gonna get this much money. Absolutely. If you're gonna let's be honest, right? So we watch basketball.
So before we go too far down this rabbit hole, because we could talk about this stuff
all
day. So what I do want to do before we get back to that, because then I'm definitely putting y'all on the spot with a couple of lists that y'all gonna have to put together.
Yeah.
But like when y'all were kids, like what was y'all dream career as a kid?
Music was one of them.
Oh,
I
figured that because your pops was big into the music scene, right?
Yeah, he was. We wanted to start up we wanted to be A&R, our artist and repertoire, doing music thing, writing. We wanted to be, me and Adriel we shy people. Believe it or not, we're shy people.
Oh,
yes.
I believe Adriel. I don't believe you.
We shy people.
I'm more reserved.
Yeah, as a coach, it's like now you got to be more vocal. You got to project. You got to do all those different things because you got to be heard. But we kept a lot of things under the table. Like, hey, a lot of people don't know. We could play guitar, bass guitar, piano. Shoot, we played violin. We played the clarinet, the bass clarinet.
I knew it. I knew that. Yeah. But like you said, most people didn't know.
Absolutely. And then of course, we got the voice, we got a voice, we got all those different things. And that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to be behind the scenes in the music scene and start up a record label.
It's funny you say that because I do think that I might have, used to, because I was always the goofball. So I do believe, I think I used to tease y'all and joke about y'all being like the next Jackson 5 or something.
Yeah, everybody did because when the American Dream came out, Jackson American Dream came out when we was in 4th grade. After that, you couldn't talk to me about who music
was Alvah the lead singer? Was Alvah the one?
We both. It was both.
Listen, y'all say both, but Adriel already said it. He was the one that was more reserved. So Alvah was the one.
I am reserved because I'm the older brother. I still
exude I didn't know that. I was gonna ask which one was the oldest.
I still embody that. That's and when it comes to the music stuff, like we definitely sang. It depends on the songs that we did, like in the talent shows and stuff. Like we would split it up and we would do different things and how we approach it. But then when we what were we? Sixth grade, seventh grade, we actually joined Arts Prevention over there on the South Side with Fred, Ricky.
Candace was in there.
Candace was in there for a little bit.
Candace Knox?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Patterson?
Yeah. And we had a whole bunch of other kids, man. And we went there to learn how to play the instruments that we had, right? So I played the bass, Alvah played the lead. But then we got to playing and learning stuff. And then it was like all of a sudden we would be playing songs like, old school Motown hits. And I remember we were playing it and we were rehearsing and we were doing My Girl. And I just grabbed the mic and I just walked behind the mic and I just started singing. We had little Blue too. He was our drummer. 5 years old, man. He was serious.
He was hitting
it. We called him Blue. I can't even remember his real name at this point.
I feel like, was it Eric Blue?
Might have been a little.
Yeah, because Eric is younger than us.
But fierce on them drums. But yeah, we didn't see him much after Arts and Prevention kind of went away. But nonetheless, man, I walked over there. I just started singing on the mic, and the two heads of Arts and Prevention, they came out and they looked around the corner like, who is that? And I was like, oh, that was me. And they're like, man, do that again. So then we started playing My Girl, and I just started going. And then I'm like, all right. And they're like, man, maybe we should have them in the singing side of things and not the instrument.
Not just the music playing.
Yeah. So then I remember they put me on straight blast, or some straight heat. We were at the center. We were playing, and we were playing for this crowd, and all of a sudden he starts singing, and he stops and looks back. He's like, Adriel, come up here. And it had been a while since. So we used to go around. Pop used to have us going around like talent shows and stuff when we were real little and singing before. And we had a group before, the oldest siblings dropped out because they fell in love with hip hop.
Yep.
Plus, our manager chose some terrible songs for us, man. We went.
Pop was a horrible. We should have fired him. We should have fired him as ASAP.
He had us singing old school stuff. We was singing Motown originals. I'm talking Smokey and the Miracles when he still had Claudette in the group type stuff. Like we was singing oldies. And it was like, Dad, Pop, can't we sing some Shy, some Jodeci, something like that? Let's just get some voices, man.
Tony done pulled up.
Yeah. Had us singing Four Tops, Temptation.
So
he used to sing, had us sing the groups that weren't even that good at Motown. Like, man, ain't nobody gonna hear. We don't know this song. Ain't nobody else gonna know it.
We don't want to see no Shy like stuff like that. Man, come on now.
So
let's see the hits.
So we would do that, and then Tony and Andre, they got older. It wasn't cool anymore. They didn't want to be part of it. So then it was just us, and then we stopped doing it. But then you know how Mr. Stanley, Leota Stanley.
Oh my God!
He goes around and
listen. If you are between the ages of about 35 and 50, you know his songs.
You know his songs.
Still know his songs. You sung his songs at school.
Absolutely. And I don't know. I guess he don't do that anymore then. But he came around to Emerson our 4th and 5th grade year. Fourth grade, I didn't. Both. He was there for both. Yeah. But 4th grade, I didn't really do any solos really. But then 5th grade, he comes and where he goes to each classroom. He's playing in the classroom and. My classroom is Dunlap's class. We were talented. We had like 5, 6 people that he ended up bringing on for solos. But Yeah, and I got up, I sang in front of the class, and next day he came back with the song. It was like he pulled me for recess. It was like, hey, I wrote this song last night, and I want you to sing it. And I'm in there, and sorry, not recess. It was art class because I still had my smock on. I had art painting stuff on me. Um, but I was missing recess, and he started playing "Spread My Wings," and I'm like, all right, I can sing this, and I sang. Tony Lawless, shout out. I still got that cassette too. My kids didn't heard me singing and everything, man. It's like this was me when I was in 5th grade. This is what I sound like. And it's one of those things that you always have. That's a fantastic memory you can always look back on. But that's when I did that. Like, man, we got to record some of the stuff that we heard from people. Like, you can imagine. Like, and this was just singing a Leota Stanley song. Like, we
The
had
memories
kids.
are just the memories are crazy because remember that alphabet that went around everybody's school?
Yeah.
Everybody used to think the G for gospel, which was Leota Stanley
Leota.
Jr., they thought it was me.
Oh,
I used to get asked that all the time, and also because I had braces in middle school too. So everybody, I used to get asked that all the time, and it's funny, but like every once in a while, you can go into somebody's school or a building that's still up, and which is super funny to me. Yeah. But do any of y'all still do anything with music now?
I play every single day. Man. I got 3 guitars, a bass guitar. I got 4 different pianos. Man, I still write. I still do everything. It got harder when I was doing or in coaching in football. But what I would do, I would get home, late night, midnight. I mean, it's morning, but midnight, 12:30 in the morning from the office, and I would pick up my guitar, play for 15 minutes, and then I would fall asleep. And it's still my. I'm in love with music, and I always have been in love with music. It gets me through. It got us through everything, and not going to go down an emotional train on it, but that was the one thing that really, 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 really got us over the hump with my mother's death is music, and that took us to that place where you need to go. And I just feel like music can give you everything and every emotion that you need to figure things out.
Shout out to y'all moms. This is one of the memories that I have from y'all mother.
I already know.
It literally like the thing about our football team, that group, was like the thing that stands out is we got to go out of town, like really, really, really travel and go to Kansas. And it was your mother that told my mother that it was fine. She had me and to let me go. Otherwise, I wouldn't have went. And I just appreciated her by telling like, hey, he's one of ours. I got him. We're good. And so I got to go. So, 100%. I've always had nothing but admiration and love for your mom and just your parents in general.
Yeah.
Real she was something special.
She was special. And that was a good thing, because and that's that thing, it takes a village to raise a child. Now, you look at these children, man, I see some kids, I want to go upside their heads like, yo, but you can't do anything. You can't say anything. Because you got to watch it and take it and listen. Like even today, man, we were at a park over here in Middleton, and it was, had my son had a birthday party, and I mean, there was these 4 little girls that were just, I mean, they all of 6th, 7th grade. I know we cuss, but man, these kids don't understand.
We didn't do it around adults.
Yeah, and they sit there, and it was word after word after word after word. I was just sitting here like, yo, like, what's up?
Like, you don't see me?
Yeah. Like, I mean, read a book, pick up a book. There's approximately 400,000 words in the English language. You can find another way to explain yourself. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like,
now, as we think about like the community and stuff, and just like I said, just shared about your mom, like, well, who were some other influential people in y'all lives growing up?
Influential people in our lives growing up. It always started with the people that we are closely tied with. So family, obviously, parents. from a young age. Oh, it's.
Shout out to my mom. She said, "Thank you. I appreciate Miss Pat, a beautiful woman."
Absolutely.
Thank you.
100%.
I mean, man, we had so many people.
We had too many, and that's the thing.
We had a lot of people. So we would have to break it down, right? So if you broke it down, because it's like, to Al's point, to your point, it was a village. So we had neighbors that if something happened to us, we knew that we could go to the neighbor's house without question, and they was going to take care of us, right? We knew that if we was at the dean's house, we didn't have to worry about anything. They were going to take care of us, right? We knew that, and it was vice versa. We knew that if we were at the Salinas' house or anybody else's house, they were going to take care of us. So they were all influential and that aspect. And then at the same time, let's not forget that we didn't all come from these lavish lifestyles and where our parents had everything and we could do whatever we wanted. That's not how we all grew up. So we came from hardworking people.
Yeah. 100%.
And we saw nothing but hardworking people. Like, my mama had 3, 4, 5 jobs at a time, right? And that was just to ensure that we were going to have a fairly decent Christmas or something, right? Like, we didn't have name brand clothing until, like, I didn't get a name brand shoe until I was in high school, junior year in high school.
Yeah, junior, senior year.
And I got them for Christmas, and that was like the one thing that I got. But that just wasn't our family. So the influential people came from those hardworking people, and there's a number of them. Now, if you talk about a pinpoint, like you talk about the South Side, man, we had. I talk about this because you got youth sports now, where parents coach because they want to benefit their child. They're not coaching because they want to help kids. They're doing it because they want to help their child
play.
They want to live vicariously through their child and have their child be whatever. Our parents, people that we had coaching us, man, we had Coach Kilgore. He had multiple sons, and if they couldn't cut it, they weren't going to play over somebody else. He was coaching.
And there was times where they couldn't play, and he was still there.
You know Correct. What I'm saying? 100%.
And he had to coach because of it. We
peace, Coach
shout out,
Strong.
Coach Strong. To the day of his death, he
never missed a birthday.
You could count on him reaching out, checking on us, saying happy birthday,
telling you how proud he was.
Telling you how proud he was, whether it be LinkedIn, whether it be Facebook, whether it be direct message, because he had my phone number. I still have his phone number. And it's like, I expected calls from him. I expected text message just for him to check in. You know what I mean? Like
our games in college all the
correct. Time. We the coaches that a lot of people don't know. You know what I mean? Like we had Coach Waters, we had Coach Briscoe, we had a lot of coaches that pushed us and that did a lot of things for us that a lot of people didn't do. And then you got on basketball side, we had Coach Saunders, we had Coach Jeff, we had a laundry list of good folks in our corner.
Forrest was a super stand-up guy. Like I didn't get much interaction with him, but when I did, it was always love and genuine. He wanted to see everybody do well and thrive.
They made me and Adriel, their youngest daughter's godparents. You know what I mean? Like
they family to us.
It's like they came to games. They traveled. We still talk to them too. Like all of these people. You know what I mean? Like Miss Wanda, Will Smith's mother. Like we were always over there. She would if she had to tell us something or we were doing something, hey, I remember, if we were doing something or even if it was an inkling of trouble, our Auntie April Barlow, she would sit there, boys, y'all better get y'all home or da. You know what I mean? They held us accountable to everything we did. No matter what it is, they held us accountable. And it was those people that always did it. You know, I mean, and again, it's just like that is ultimately because sometimes you don't want to hear it from your parents. You can't hear it from your parents all the time.
Oh man. That is something that registered with me You remember, y'all? Everybody remembers Reese Gaines, right?
Yes.
It made sense to me when Corvan, Boosie, his little brother,
Yeah.
came to me and was like, Jamal, thank you. And I was like, for what? And he said, you were saying the same thing that my brother and dad were saying that I wasn't listening to, but he said, I know that you weren't talking to them. So when you said it, and it came from a different place because you cared and didn't have to care, that it just registered. And for me, that carried on, and that's something that I make sure that I do. And that's why I try and have as many touch points with people that know my daughters, that can speak to my daughters, because at some point they're not hearing me. I'm dad. They say one ear and out the other.
100%. And now it's even more so because, man, you got things at your fingertips. So it's like now all these kids know more than us, no matter what. They just know more than us because they just
they have access to
this. What it says. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, you got to have that foundational person that agrees with who you are, what you're doing, but it's coming from them, not you. And it comes at a time where you're like, wait, hey, my daddy says that all the time. You're like, absolutely.
Now the dots get connected.
But then to piggyback on that, to add on all that though, we can't forget the fact that because we started this conversation, we were bringing up earlier about the community, right? And us, although we were rivals and we were, there was a rivalry between the South Side and the Northeast side or the whomever and the West side and so forth, right? Yeah, we had this rival, but there was a much bigger respect factor. These kids don't have the same respect factor that we have. Yeah. So when you also talk about influence, right? When we were little, and we were real little, we used to look up to. You remember when we were fourth grade or before we were in fourth grade, because we had family and people used to go to the Southside Raiders games. Like when Tony, Toast, Jeff, that team, that Raiders team, like when we used to go watch their games, and Reese was on there and Candace was on there. Like when we would watch them games and we would see how they would play and what they would do to people, like you can't help but look. And what Coach Mack used to do, man, you couldn't help but be like, oh, it was like we had this little tiny circle of Madison, Wisconsin, the south side of Madison, Wisconsin. We had this thing that was like Texas.
Yeah,
we treated it like Texas.
It was
like Texas.
There was so many influential people in that small little circle and pot.
You want to know what's funny? And I know you lose some sleep over that one interception you had that one time. But I still lose sleep over it. If y'all remember, man, we were playing. It was sixth grade. And we were playing, I think we were playing DeForest also. And we run this sweep. And it was loud. It was the end of the game. Clock was ticking. Get the pitch. I'm going out left. Make this move. Boom, boom. Hit another move. Boom, boom. And I hit the sideline. And your boy is gone. Oh. Nobody's catching me.
Yeah.
And we had
that line jumped up there.
It might have seemed like there was like 5,000 people on the sideline. It was probably like 50, 100 or something. But we thought it felt like it was the world. And I had people cheering like go. I'm running. I'm like yeah. And I looked to the sideline. And those little memes where they got the little ninja that just pops out and he trips you and stuff.
I do remember that.
Yeah, that line came up and it grabbed me on like the 15-yard line. And I hit the ground. I did not want to get up. I wanted to stay on that ground. And I'm just like, And I don't even know who came and got me, but I just felt some people come tug at me and pick me up. And I got up and I'm like, man, we didn't score that game. Man, we ended up losing. And
the crazy thing is our era, like it wasn't the same domination as like Jeff Mack, Darwin Hoy, and all them, Toast or whatever. But it was a different level of domination where like from 4th to 8th grade, we probably lost maybe 3 times.
We didn't lose much. But the difference was though, the difference was the rules changed.
And evolution.
There's some rules changed and other people got better, man. Like, to my point of your interception, man, like back then, there were probably some girls on the team and stuff like that, but we was playing against Baki.
Yeah. And
Baki, she was.
Hey, look,
she
y'all
was
know
like,
her name.
Now.
She was like, I mean, she went to University of Wisconsin, was a baller hooper there too.
And
but we
I didn't know who she was. It took y'all in the group chat to tell me her name because I didn't know her name. Yeah, I just knew that we didn't know she was a girl until after the game. We didn't know she was a girl till after the game, though.
I know, right?
Until she took her shirt out, but then that made it all the better for us.
Y'all clown me for years. I still catch the clowning every now and then.
Man. You coughed that ball up like you had Rona inside of you, yeah.
She did grab me and swung me around like we was playing outside on a tennis ball or something.
Swing.
But she's still bigger than us all, so she's still bigger than us all.
She probably like, what is she, like 6'4"?
She's like, well, she might be like 6'2" or something like that, maybe. But
for those that don't know the story, I got an interception against DeForest. I'm running it back, weaving through traffic. The quarterback hits me, grabs me, and swings me around, and I fumble.
She blasted
listen. Nope, we didn't joke about it then because it was just normal. It was
just mad. It was like, oh man.
Like, damn, you got
when
stuck,
the game
man.
was over, when she took off her shoulder pad, we all found out their starting quarterback was a girl who was their best player by far.
100%. And that is Baki, who is a legend here in Wisconsin that played at basketball here and has got, she's done her thing. Now she's in powerlifting, got her gym out here. And I mean, and it was a phenomenal thing because it's a beautiful thing, man. And
it's an evolution, man.
It
was a change.
We saw it firsthand.
People started getting better. Like, you're always better today than you were yesterday, and that's that whole conversation with the old heads. When they talk about the old school people could do this, that, and none. It's like you're always better than you. The people today are always better than the people yesterday. It's hard for the people that live it to admit to it, but that's the reality of it, right? But yeah, so these legends, like, and we watched them, and we wanted to be them, and we wanted to achieve what it was that they were achieving. And then we also had the West Side Wolverines, right? Because we used to go to the summer day camp over there, and that's where we met Donnie and Bryce and Thompson.
Yeah.
And then come to find out, obviously our parents knew each other and whatnot. But looking at them two, they were grown men amongst boys when we were little. So like Donnie looked like he was.
Dude was at 45.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's brother at the time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like he was.
He had a head like Martin Howard. Like they put
Absolutely.
steroids in their head.
100%.
Yeah, they was cut like it was nobody else's business. It's like, man, why are you don't even have business being that big in 6th grade, man? What are you doing? And I'm not talking like big, like in size, like y'all were swole.
They were swole, yoked.
And then then they play West Side Wolverines, and then they go and do their thing, and then it's just like you can't help but follow what they did. You can't help but follow what Jeff did. You can't help but follow what Reese did and what Candace did, and you can't help what Tim West did. You can't help what Lewis did. You can't help what Tony did. You can't help but notice all of these things and follow in the stead of all these things. But then you got Edgewood, you got Rainey Briggs, Tim Beasley. They were Southside.
Shout out to Rainey. I talked with Rainey yesterday, and I was telling him about just how we talked about that era of domination and how it looked different. But I was telling him we were like that last group that really took things to another level.
Yeah.
I would love to see the Southside Raiders get back to that and that level of care and the way the sidelines were stupid packed.
Yeah, right, and that's the beauty, and it's not a joke, man. People think that we be bullshit when we say that. Like,
shout out to Mom.
It might have been 1,000 people that came to these games. It was an event every Saturday.
And it would be the whole day from about
2 games,
lights
and the heavyweights. Yeah,
absolutely. You know what I'm saying? And that was a beautiful thing. And that pushed us. That's pushed people. And you sit here and you watch all these people and you admire all these people. And that was the one thing that I have to say pushed me and Adriel, because we see all of these people. And even I I mean, you talk basketball. Like honestly, I'm just gonna say like Tony's team with BK, Lewis. It was Merrill Lynch Bulls. Man, like
with Pete Bry, Ben Bry. I mean,
Well, P was the coach, and they had
I mean,
Jerry, they had Lou, they had Rose, they had Tony,
all
BK.
I
They had Mike Wilkinson.
Like I have talked to people that are from like Milwaukee, Racine, or whatever. I was like, Madison is the hidden ground where there's talent that nobody gives the respect to.
100 proof.
Only they was going to nationals every year.
We ain't got 1.2 million or 1.2 million people here or not. So everybody's like, oh well, it's just Madison. Well, come on, man, come to Madison and find out. Because
find out.
Yeah, me and them only ever lost when they got down and lost to the Atlanta Celtics at the time. You know what I'm saying? And shoot, we went down. We were down in it was or maybe Orlando or Nashville at the time, but one of the tournaments. And I'm kidding you not, man. One dude from Atlantic Celtics was 16 years old, took off at the free throw line.
Yeah,
and it don't surprise me at all.
I remember that game.
And they can still catch an L, even though they had the superior like athletic ability.
100%. 100%.
But we had some good solid teams. They had some good solid teams, right? But you know, mind you, that's a huge influence. That's a huge thing to follow up after, right? Like, oh man, I'm trying to do it. Like Louis Monroe. Louis Monroe was my favorite basketball player.
Him and Maurice.
When I was Maurice Jordan.
Those two are
from ABC. Like when we used to watch them when we were little, I was like, man, they the smoothest cats.
Lewis was one of the silkiest point guards, 6'5", and if you pissed him off, he'll score 50.
Yeah. I never and we used to challenge, like when we would go down to those tournaments and stuff like that, we would challenge them. We would play them. It'd be me and Alvah, and we would take on any of them 2-on-2. Like, let's go, because you know we was 6th grade, 7th grade, whatever, depending on when it was, and we would always challenge them, and they would always be like, all right, let's go, and they would teach, and we would play, and they would put the work in, like, but yet the respect factor that we had for them isn't the same that kid. Like these days, I swear these kids, like I tell these kids around neighborhoods, like, look, man, stop shooting all these threes, man. You're launching it from your hip. If you're launching it from your hip, guess what you're gonna have to do?
To shoot appropriately.
You're not
correct. You're gonna have to figure it all out. Like, and man, I can shoot threes. I'm like, all right, keep shooting them. Then you're gonna be shooting them from the bench.
Absolutely.
You're gonna be shooting them when you warm up, and you're gonna keep your shooting shirt on all game.
Absolutely. You're gonna be that kid that stands up and down when y'all make a good play. Oh, hey,
you're gonna be back down. Hey, I was like, you gotta figure out how to be a baller. You gotta figure out how to be a beast. And these people don't want to do that anymore because, again, and I say this often to people, but it's like we deal with a culture that especially with the youth that know the price of everything, but the value of nothing. And the sense of the price of everything is like, whether it be actual product based, materialistic, they know the price of it, but they don't know what that values, man. Like,
spoken like a true father.
Yeah.
Correct. But the reality, and a coach though too, but because it's like, oh, I want, like, some kids in the neighborhood. I was just telling my brother-in-law this. I was like, these kids will run their mouth. It's like, oh, coach, hey, what celly should I do? I'm like, what's a celly? Like, yeah, I'm trying to figure out my celly. What should my celly be? I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know what a celly is. Like they going to jail? My celebration. I'm like, oh, wait, what? I'm like, I was like, you got to score it first before you got to worry about the celebration, kid. Like, what you talking about? I'm like, I can take you down to Minneapolis right now, and I can find 100 kids younger than you that will run circles around you. Y'all think that these towns are huge? They're not. It's a micro millimeter of what the world actually is, and there's some people out there that ain't playing. They're not playing. And if you don't understand the value of something, you're just doing stuff just to do it. Because these cats down in Texas and Florida and Georgia and California, they're not playing. They're not playing. There's a reason why football is so much more dominant down there. There's a reason why, basketball, I would say, is more of a Midwest to East Coast thing, because we get weather. So we go indoors.
Yeah.
Right.
So we
right.
learn how to play. We learn how to hoop. And if you look at,
as we speak to the athletic side of things, like I also wanted to talk about like the academic pieces, like as far as education goes, like what was y'all view on the academic pieces from when you were actually in school in high school to compared to what it is now on the other end, now that we got kids?
I think we were smart enough in the sense that we had the intelligence enough, but not the motivation enough to understand
the why. Right. Yeah.
To understand that you got to get good marks, and we could listen to something, learn something, go into class and get a decent enough grade that we didn't have to worry about anything, which is not the way to go. And it's not what I promote now. Like now it's like, look, man, like this is easy stuff. Just go ahead and do it. But at the same time, we wanted to have some fun where we wanted to have fun, but
doing enough to get by.
Yeah, I mean,
it was getting by.
To tell you straight honest, like we were offered scholarships to go play at a lot bigger schools than what most people understand, because they saw us go to Northern. Because we didn't watch football and sports, and the BCS had just rolled out. We didn't even know what the difference between BCS was and other conferences were at the time. So
and we got finagled, or they told us, hey, we can play both football, basketball.
And so one thing was, and I've told kids this story, like that I coach. I'm like, look, man, academics, they drive everything, and they are your ticket. They are your actual ticket, because we wanted to actually go to Northwestern when we were in middle school and high school, because we had went to a team basketball camp at Northwestern, and we were sleeping on the campus, and we were there, and we wanted to go there. But then at the same time, when we got to having conversations, we talked to their coaches 2-3 times a week. And they offered us scholarships. They wanted us to come. And then it was just like, all right, well, just waiting on the transcripts. And once we do, well, because we didn't bring what we were supposed to bring in the classroom consistently, we weren't at a level that Northwestern was willing to take us. And
now, mind you, we weren't bad. I mean, we both.
Yeah, we weren't bad, but it wasn't Western-esque at the time.
But speak to that, like speak to the understanding of where it is that you want to go and the knowledge you got to acquire to make that happen.
And what, like sport or the school?
Because there's so much that goes into, like, yeah, I can get this scholarship offer, but if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to at a certain level, I will have to take less.
100%.
So let me. I got this one. So this is so the way to answer your question about now, that speaking from a father's perspective, absolutely, man. Like, hindsight's 20/20, and you realize stuff as you get older. Like, how many times have you sat there and be like, man, if I had one more year in high school, what I would have done, or if I knew this last year, what I would have done. That happens all the time. So when I talk to my kids, it's like, look, I use this as an acronym. It's I am, right? So it's IAAM, which is I am, meaning I am athletics, I am academics, and I am music. The 3 pillars of
who you are,
of who I am, but who makes up what anybody. Think about it. I'll just use somebody like Ed Sheeran, right? Ed Sheeran, you look at him and it's like there's not an attractive bone in his body, but the dude is talented.
Very talented. Yeah.
And the moment he gets on stage and he performs and he sings, everybody forgets about what he looks like. And now it's just the music and his fame. So point being is that what music brings you, both intellectually wise, spiritually wise, and just what it can gift you, what sports can do in similar ways, academics can do in all of those ways. Yes. And combined, you put yourself in a position where success is all that's in your path. There's nothing else that can go wrong as far as being unsuccessful if you do the things that you're supposed to do and be consistent with them. So the one thing that you'll hear me say a lot to my kids and the kids that I coach is do what you have to do now so you can do what you want to do later.
Yeah.
And a lot of people get it wrong because if you want to party and have a good time, a lot of people do it backwards and they do what they want to do when they're young and then end up having to do what they have to do when they get older. And a lot of times what they have to do when they get older is working some odd job, not getting paid, living paycheck to paycheck, and all the above. So I stress the fact that, look, you're only a kid. You're a kid for the shortest portion of your life. So in that time period, your friends are not going to pay your bills. Your friends are not going to send you to college. Your friends are not going to take care of you. Do what you have to do now, which is academics, athletics, music, whatever it might be, whatever extracurriculars somebody wants to do, so that you can do what you want to do later. And what you want to do is be an entrepreneur, be a business owner, run your own stuff, make the money that you want, do all the things that you need to do in order to be successful. And how you deem success is all predicated on what effort you put into getting there. Because the reality of it is that you got to have a vision. And in our communities, in a lot of ways, there isn't vision. People, real talk. It was you're gonna be a hooper or you're gonna pick up the mic and go at it. But it's like we are so much more than that, and we can do so much more than that. But people got to understand that it's, man, right now. I can tell you right now, right? If you went and cashed your check, and you kept all that cash in 20s, and you rode down the street with that big wad of cash, I guarantee you it's bigger than any street cat. So
it always is, and that's what it's always going to be, and that's life. And
that's where the focus got to be.
Yeah, and I share that same because obviously twins. We manifest a lot. We talk all the time. We might talk 4 times a day. It is what it is. And I have that same type of situation where it's like I say AAA. I tell my kids it's a AAA. It's academics, athletics, and artistry. I love music. My kids have something in there, but it's kind of different. It's sometimes it's hey, if you want to draw. If you want to do something, but you got to use that creative piece of your mind too. And that's the piece where we have to do it. And, like he said, as a coach, I say there's your have tos and your get tos. There's things you have to do to be able to get to do what you want to do. And at the end of the day, everybody does. They have this preconceived notion that if you are smart, if you read, if you pick up a book, that you can't be athletic, that you can't be.
Man, and listen, I've been having that conversation about how much power words have, 100%. and just understanding like it doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be and.
No. And it can be and both, and it should be all of the above. Tony Lawler said in the thing, hey, there's a stigma that jocks are not smart. Well, guess what? You want to know? It's the craziest thing. It's a crazy thing because guess what? We're the smartest ones. We're the ones that got to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go work out, then go do everything for practice and study.
And then do everything that the student has to do that only does academics.
And the academic piece, and then they get to sleep in till noon, 3 o'clock. Then they have a class at 4. Like we got to do it all. We have to have a certain GPA to get in. We have to have a certain score to get in. We have to do all of this
and maintain it though. And maintain it.
And we have to maintain it because if you don't, you're going to lose it. Because see, I tell people this all the time. Football can't take school away, but school can certainly take football away or basketball.
Hey, you just said something right there. That's huge. And to me, like I'm one of the, I'm not gonna say I'm the only, but I can speak to that side of the equation. I ended up on academic probation and had to miss a semester of basketball. So like I completely understand, and that's why I go so hard preaching like the academic piece and the athletic piece. You got to put in the same work, if not more.
Same work.
So
you know what the crazy thing is? I was watching and talking about all this Deion Sanders stuff. He had that show back in the day with his kids and all that kind of stuff, right? And they showed this clip. It was Sadir. It was all three of his sons. Junior was, I think, 2 years in college already. And then Sadir was like, man, Dad said that he was coaching his Pee Wee team. He's like, Dad says I'm an embarrassment to him. And it was like, he was like, well, Dad be saying stuff like that. And he was just like, well, why? He know how Dad is. He was like, but Deion didn't say you're embarrassment because you're not a good football player. He says, you're embarrassing me because you're putting more effort in just music, but not the sport and not your academics. So that's an embarrassment. If you're going to step on anything, you better bring the same effort, same attitude, and the same discipline as everyone, And as a coach, I'm always trying to become that next guy, that next head coach, whatever it might be. And I come and we all get this carpe diem. We all know carpe diem, right? Seize the day. Well, I came up with something that I changed. It's a mantra. It's not D-A-Y as in the day, but it's D-A-E. Okay? So we're going to seize the day. Discipline, attitude, and effort. The three things that we control all the time, which is every single D-A-Y day: discipline, attitude, and effort. So if you're going to seize something, you seize that day. That discipline you bring every single day, that attitude you bring every single day, and that effort you bring every single day. Because that's the only things we can control. We can't control anything else. We can
getting angry over there, man. Look at it getting all not slick.
You know what I'm saying? So
he was getting intense on us, wasn't he? He was coming out. He was about to jump on the camera and stuff. He was about to jump on the camera like he was gonna do stuff.
That's the thing. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, that's what we have to do, and that's where my kids. I'm like, listen, y'all. I don't care what you say, what you do, but you're gonna pick up a book. You're gonna read it. You're gonna read. You're gonna learn because everything you need to know is in the book. But just pick it up. Oh, I don't like reading. I didn't like reading. But I'm going to tell you one thing. Again, another segue to the whole Edgewood conversation. We went there and things were different. We really went there and we sat there as freshmen and like, hey, we went through a whole public school system. We ain't learned this.
Right.
We didn't learn this. This is different.
Introduction.
It was scary when we first went to Edgewood because I'm sitting here like, man, I'm not a dummy, but I didn't learn that.
Yeah, I don't know where did this come from.
Because Alvah and Adriel went a different route. They ran from the grind of the public school. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
They literally only went to Edgewood because they didn't want to play against us in the public schools because we all was like, man, whoever we play against, we bust them. I'm totally kidding. But like understanding like going somewhere was a different environment and like that's an adjustment in itself, just the environment, which had nothing to do with academics, but plays a part in your ability to focus on the academics.
100%.
Yeah, we had the privilege of now Tony had it a little harder than us, but because Tony was by himself and then he entered it, but he had a couple of friends that he went to middle school with that he knew, and then obviously knew of Tim and Rainey because they were older. But then Coach Briscoe was there when Tony got there, so that helped him. But Alvah and I had each other was the first thing. We had Theo with us. We had Adriana was there with us also. So it was kind of like we had this South Side connection. We had people that we knew.
But literally, like that was it though. Like it wasn't more than
Brianna.
10. That many.
Yeah, Brianna was there freshman year. Yeah, so we had Brianna also.
Like
Anthony Brown.
It's literally not. It wasn't more than 10. If y'all had 10, that might be a lot.
Oh, no, we can count on our hand, and I can name every single one in the school. each grade we can name every single one, and we were thick as thieves, and we all came together because we were in a place where we knew that. Edgewood is a microcosm of America, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? Like you had that tossed salad where you had this person, that person, these people.
Pause, man. Pause.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah,
I would have used a melting pot, but
it didn't melt because it didn't melt together. It was
your
all
choice,
that in there.
Right.
But
come on,
absolutely. But that is, and that's what it was, and we had that, but we were, and as I said earlier, it was the greatest decision that we were ever forced to make, and we went there and we flourished because we had each other. And then Vince Murray ended up coming later, towards our end of our sophomore year. He came that next semester, and then he ended up doing his thing, and he keeps doing, and it elevated us academically, but then in turn elevated us athletically because we started to learn the system of football, the system of basketball, and you learn those little things.
So, what is some advice that you would give a young person that is like dreams that they want to pursue?
That has dreams that they want to pursue?
Going.
Yeah.
Do what you have to do now so you can do what you want to do later.
Absolutely.
Pick out your dream, figure out what dream it is, and then set a plan in place.
A plan, right?
What are the goals that I need to do in order to achieve this, right? I think they say that on any particular skill, if you spend at a minimum of 18 minutes a day on that particular skill for a year, you are more advanced in that particular skill than 95% of the population, which again is a lot, but it's not a lot because if there's 5,000 people that still can do that, or 5% of the people that can still do it better than you, that still just gets you to, a healthy landscape or position in your life. So it depends on what you want to do. But if you put more effort into it, you're obviously going to be better. So if you have a dream, and which I'll give you a prime example because you asked this question earlier, what was one of our dream jobs? And Alva said music. But then there was also other things, right? We obviously had a passion and a want and
as you get older and mature, it changes and it shapes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we decided we wanted to be professional athletes. But for me, I always had multiple things that I wanted to do. And trading commodities and in the agriculture world was one of them, right? So, and I literally spoke at the ag convention here in Minnesota last year. I'm talking top bigwigs for agriculture. We had the governor, we had senators, we had people from Washington D.C. out. Like it was 560 something people there. It was a big deal, right? So I'm sitting here like, oh man, this is gonna be heavy. Me talking to all these people. I was on a panel and having this conversation about the stuff that we were working on, where I came from, what I was doing, etc. And for those that when they know, because I tell the story the same way. We didn't get into it from a traditional standpoint. I didn't get an ag or trading because I had somebody that was there. I solely did it because I liked the stock market game when we were in middle school. But then in 7th grade was the first time that I had ever watched Trading Places. And so I'm sitting there like, man, what does I want to do what Billy Ray Valentine did? If y'all don't know, remember Trading Places was the movie with Eddie Murphy, Dan Aykroyd. Yeah. And I'm just like, I want to do that when I grow up. That'd be cool to do. Now,
so
it was
exposure.
Yeah. And it was a side thing, right? So that was like, okay, that's in the back of my mind that I want to do because I know sports is not gonna last forever. If I get into music, yeah, that'd be great, but I don't know that music was gonna last forever. But I would love to trade. So I started to learn a little bit about it, and then it was just like everything, all these nuggets kept coming in place because we go to Edgewood and we link up with Matt Schenck freshman year basketball. Then sophomore year we got cool with Matt, and then we started getting cool with his family, and then come find out that 2 of his uncles traded one traded on at the Mercantile Exchange as a trader, who was the top S&P trader in the 90s, right? Then he had another uncle who was a broker, who brokered the S&P. So it was like, and then we got to see. This is one of those luxury things that we got from Edgewood as well, which touches on what you would tell young kids that have dreams. We got to see a whole different life from what we got to see. We got to see the poorest of poor when we would go back to Cleveland, when we would go back to those type of neighborhoods, and we would see the grimiest, poorest neighborhoods imaginable, right? But then we saw where we lived, which it was well above that. I would say I would like to call ourselves low middle class, right? Yeah. But we had that experience. But then when we got to Edgewood, it introduced us to a whole new world of stuff we had never seen before. Now we're talking about people living in mansions. We're talking about people living in and having things that we would never even dream that we could have. We would go to people's Christmases and we'd be done with ours, and it was like we got these piles of like 5 things, and then we go see these other people's Christmases, and we go over there, and their entire pile could have paid for our pile 15 times over.
100 proof,
right? So we're seeing what these people have and what they did to get there. So the next bit of advice that I would tell young cats would be, if you want to be a manager, hang out with managers.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be a C-level exec, meet as many C-level execs as you can possibly meet. Learn what they do. Understand what they do. Ask as many questions as possible. If you want to become a CEO of a company, find as many CEOs as you possibly can. Read all the stuff that they've written. Figure out what they've done, what they do, how they do it. And structure your life to get to that point. But in the same time, keep doing what you're doing, because now sports are going to pay. Even if you don't make it to the league, you can be well off in moving into your career. Like, you make a little bit of NIL money.
Alone. Not even just the social networking because of your sports background. Like, do you know how many people in Madison still know who we are just because of what we did when we were in high school?
Absolutely. And that's never going to change. And you know, to piggyback what Adriel was saying about dreaming, I told my kids this, and I tell them all the time, you can be anything you want to be, but you can't be everything. And that's the one thing that people do, make the mistake in living a dream or chasing a dream. They think they can be this, that. Oh, I can do this. I can do all these different things. You sometimes gotta have tunnel vision. Know what you want and make a plan, because you can be anything you want to be, but you just can't be everything. So you have to grind that out and understand what a goal really is. And a goal is, you know, we sit here and people think that goals are, let's talk sport. We're talking sport. Oh, I want to win a championship. Is that really a goal? That's a destination. When being a champion is a destination. What am I going to do to get to that destination? That's the goals. Each step. So it's, all right, first goal, I'm going to wake up early and do this and make my bed. That's the first task. Wake up and make your bed. You just accomplished something. You accomplished something. And that gives you a sense of a foundation of doing something towards
what you want to achieve,
right? And it's little, it's tiny, it's this little minute thing, but so important. Then you say, okay, after I wake up and I make my bed, I'm going to take care of this, the temple, work out, push-ups, run, jumping jacks, whatever it might be, even if it's just stretching, because those are those things that are going to keep you going. And at the end of the day, you know, We do. We all say, oh, I want to be this. Oh, I want to be that. My daughter says she wants to be a doctor. And I says, okay, if that's what you said, that is what we're going to do. And that is what you're going to take steps towards. Now, if you fall short because whatever reason, or you get to a point where it's just like, yeah, I'm going to do something else, well, you better figure out something that is somewhere along those lines. If you shoot for the moon, you're going to hit some stars along the way, right? So that's the thing, that if you dream real. Dream big, but dream real.
And what you're talking about is something I use as an analogy. Like I use an umbrella as an analogy. The way you open up an umbrella, the covering that keeps you from getting wet, I look at it as the dream. But every spoke that keeps that umbrella open is a goal that you've got to check off and accomplish to make that dream come true.
Yeah, there's
I like that.
One of the most important pieces of one of the most important pieces of, there was this coach. He's not a coach. He went to Wisconsin though, played football here, and we were talking, and he played in the '90s. I forgot his name, but I think his business, he makes like widgets for jets and planes, right? And I mean, millions and millions of dollars, works everything. And nobody realizes that the most important piece to a plane might just be that widget. It's just a little tiny screw, and without that,
it was, and
the whole thing falls apart. What?
Cool Runnings.
What was it? Cool Runnings?
Cool Runnings.
The little boat was the most important thing. That's why they got for that.
And the whole squid fell apart.
100%.
But you know, if they fly that rocket ship up
because of
the
a little
moon,
widget,
they ain't gonna hit no stars though, because there ain't gonna be no stars on the way to the moon.
Hey, stop. Anyways, so like at the end of the day, that's the point. And so it's like, so you sit here and you constantly look at the big picture and don't realize that the smallest things are the most important things. It's the little attention to detail. And we want to teach that. As a coach, you teach that. As a player, you hear that. Hey, start behind the line. Hey, dude, man, you just always get those little things are going to shape that process of your dream, because it is a journey. And the process is what you got to enjoy, because at the end of the day, the journey's only written.
Right. And if you think about, remember being in college, and when you got your syllabus for a class, every time you got it, you're like, oh my God, how am I going to do all of this? But then when they start to break it down, you find out like it's equivalent to that umbrella analogy of when they break it down, you start to see the spokes, which are the little points that you got to check off to finish to make the whole class come true and get the grade that you need to pass and move on. Yeah. And so that's what I look at it as a blueprint to your life, a syllabus to your life. And yes, when you look at it face value, it's overwhelming. But when you take time to dissect it, to create the bullet points or the structure that you need to make that dream or that goal come true, then you checking off those steps. So I definitely agree with y'all on that piece.
100%.
Well, so me playing a slight devil's advocate on what I believe is necessary for success. So you know, you have to differentiate some things, because what makes somebody successful in sports isn't necessarily going to make them successful in life, but it does help a lot. And to the point of, and this is, I think, one of the things that in the Black community, Black and brown communities especially, we don't necessarily utilize to the best of our ability. And it goes back to what I originally pointed out, was that I think we put more emphasis on hard work and pressure of that work to be successful. Whereas I think that the resource and finding the resource is the most important factor. Now, I'm not saying build the rocket ship on the way up, but there has to be a lot of building the rocket ship on the way up, because one, especially kids that look like us don't have those resources, and they have to figure out how to find the resources, because in any sales job that you have to find the buyer first. it doesn't matter what product you had. You can come up with the most amazing product under the sun, but if you don't have anybody that's going to buy it, what's the point of you inventing this absolutely phenomenal product that you think that you're going to have? So it's like, I got to find, and that's why they say if you're going to invent something or if you're going to invest something, start with the things that you use. So if you use Apple products, so you have an iPhone, an Apple Watch, an iPad, Apple TV, all that type of stuff, and you purchase all of these things, and if you don't own stock in Apple, what's the point of
making the money
Apple
off
products?
They make
right?
They making money. You ain't doing nothing.
So it's find the buyer first. Be the business that has its buyer.
But you're also talking about being proactive, not sitting around waiting.
Correct. And it's one of those things because we've come to this point of individualization where it's like, oh, I got this. I'm doing this on my own. I don't need anybody, but you do. You need a lot of people. There's we mentioned it in earlier in this call. We dropped a lot of names. If we didn't go to Grandma Barlow's house, we were sitting in the shelter by ourselves, waiting on us to get picked up. So we had somebody that kept us safe and protected us. We had the knowledge that was gifted to us by our, Coach Kilgore's and Coach Strong's and passed down from our parents. We had teachers that we haven't mentioned that have influence on us. We had other family community that had influence on us. We didn't do this stuff alone. We didn't find our path on our own. You know what I mean? Like it's, you can look at a basketball player and be like, oh, I want to hoop like that person.
But he looked up to somebody too.
He looked up to somebody else, right? All of this stuff, all of this information is passed along for those that are willing to receive it.
And we are a communal culture. I've been reading that in this book that I've been reading for school or whatever. But it makes sense what you're saying because we're a communal people. So it's getting passed down from generation to generation to generation, and we keep the stories going. And that's how we help. Iron sharpens iron.
And that's also a reason why sometimes you can sit there and say, again, the Black and brown community has been so many steps behind, because a lot of that time it's like, well, no, we don't do it that way, or no, we don't do this, or we don't do that. Whereas all those other communities have been going, here you go, here you go, here you go, here you go, here you go. And we still have the naysayer. We still have the people that don't want to buy
crabs in the barrel. Adriel, you hit that on the head. Yeah, it's like once somebody start climbing, instead of pulling the next one up, they pushing them down so they can stay up and shine.
And keep their name or even make a name for themselves. And it's quite asinine that we do that to each other, because it's like, oh, we're trying to build the black man up, oh, build your brother up, blah blah blah. But in all actuality, you're tearing it down simply because you don't want to progress. You want to, and that's what a lot of people are afraid of. People always talk about, oh, well, we fear what we don't understand. We fear a lot of things that we don't understand, and we also fear the fact of growth, because you got to change and you got to jump all the way in. If I'm walking, it's 122 degrees outside, and I see a pool, I ain't sticking my toe in. I'm jumping all the way in. You feel what I'm saying? So that's where we are. And I think Steve Harvey said this. It was an excerpt that he cut. They cut when he was on Family Feud, and he was kind of talking to the people. And he says, the one thing that we're all afraid of is to jump. We sit there and we walk to the edge. We look down. You see the sharp rocks. You see, clouded sky. You see whatever it is. You don't see the bottom. And we fear
the unknown. And so what we do is, instead we look, I'm good. And we're afraid to just jump. Because if we jump, we realize that we're going to land on our feet. Because you can't believe in God and that the higher power is going to be there, and he has you, and he has you grounded, but you won't jump. So really, where's that faith? Where's that trust factor at? So now you're speaking on a whole nother topic. And like I said, I know I can have y'all on 27 times and we can hit on a million different things and just keep going forever. But what I wanted to do is I kind of wanted to go and just, because y'all talked about what your careers that you wanted as a kid were, I want to just figure out what it is that you guys do now, because I think exposure to careers is something that's huge. Because just FYI, I guarantee you there's going to be people that have watched this podcast today that are going to share it with their nieces, nephews, cousins, little brothers, sisters, or whatever the case is, and just to show the growth that you guys have made. And then just to see where you have gone and how you got to that point. So what do you guys do now for your career?
I'll start with it.
I'll start, I guess, with mine. I'm a coach. I'm a college football coach by trade. I'm and kind of, I've always wanted to coach. I've always been a coach, and in my head, on a field, on a court, on a diamond, whatever it is. And at the end of the thing, what it was is I wanted to teach and give back, because one thing that we did have, and as we talked, that communal life that we led, I wanted to do that same thing and give that same thing to the people that are underneath us coming up. Because if you don't have anybody to help elevate the rest, what's the point of moving forward in the first place? So how could I have done it? Could I have been a teacher? Yeah. Okay. What is that going to do, though? I'm only touching a certain aspect of people for only a year, and if that 3 times a week in a year. So becoming a coach, playing college football, I end up getting hurt, career and injury. Second game my senior year, I kind of slid into a role of being like the student assistant and all that kind of stuff, and kind of just fell into it. And I just love the fact that I get to help people that look like us and see the bigger picture, because there's so many people out there that are misguided and don't have people taking them to the next level. And at the end of the day, again, Deion is the hot topic. I can talk about Deion. People want to say, oh, he ain't a good coach, or he ain't this, or he ain't that. Well, I'm going to tell you something that shows how great of a person and coach he is. Travis Hunter got hurt and hit by a dude way late. Yep, it was what it was. That boy, that young man, went out and met that dude that hit him, and they became friends now. And they talked that through. Why? Because he's teaching them.
It's bigger.
Path. And he's teaching them a true path. And as a coach, you can do that, because they're going to listen deeper than anything, because this is that one path that can change their lives. Deion says, I don't want a kid that, for a quarterback, he said, yeah, I'll recruit a kid that comes from a good home, 2-parent home, money, whatever it is, great house, good cars, all that. Yeah, a quarterback, of course. But for my D-line, I want a dude that has to, the only meals he's getting is at high school. At his high school, that he has to fight.
It's a different level of hunger in certain areas.
100%. And he says, that's what I want to do. I want to teach those people and get them out. As a coach, I've seen a lot of things that are hard to see. And you see kids, I was recruiting a kid in Cleveland, and it was, and I'm, true story. I was recruiting a kid out of Cleveland. He could have came with me when I was at Maine, and he was a good football player. And I'm like, hey, you come up here, it's full scholarship. You're going to have an opportunity to play on. But he had uncles and other people, because he didn't have that father figure in his life. But he had all these other, oh, you don't need to go to no school. You don't need no school. Oh, you don't need this. You just need to work. You just need to do this. You need to do that. No, dude, get your education. And that's what we talked about before. Get your education, because your education is at least going to give you a foundation to do whatever you want to do. And he didn't listen to it. He graduated, but he stopped going to school. So ultimately, he couldn't even come to our school anymore, because he just stopped going. But he still graduated. On August 15th at 6:30 in the morning, his coach called me on the phone, and he said, hey, coach, how you doing? I was like, hey, what's up? And he says, hey, you remember X and X? And I'm like, yeah. And he says, he was just killed last night. I was like, wait, what? And he says, I was like, what? He was like, yeah, he got shot in the head and he died instantly. He was in the passenger side. I said, was he in the gang? He was like, no, they weren't targeting him. They were targeting the driver. And the driver didn't get touched, but he got hit and died instantly. He says, Coach, he was supposed to be there this morning. He was supposed to be there at practice today with you. And I said, absolutely. But someone got in his head that says, hey, you ain't got to have school. You don't got to do this. You just got to work. You don't need this. You don't need that. That is what I can change as a coach. And that's what I do as a college football coach, and change that fabric for these kids and let them know that you can be anything you want to be. Pick up a book and read it, man. Like, fight, grind, do whatever you can, because this is only the beginning. It ain't the end. It's just starting. You don't even know who you want to be yet. So just dream big, and you could be whatever you want to be. And that's why I coach, and that's who I am, and I'm Coach Al because of that.
And we definitely appreciate that from you. Adriel, what about you?
Man, I trade commodities.
Talk about it.
I'm just saying.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I'm just messing with you, man. It's the reality of it is, yeah, that's what I do. I'm an oil trader. I work for a company called Archer Daniels Midland, one of the bigger agriculture companies in the United States. Like I said, man, I had a passion to work in this field. I wanted to be a trader. I tried to do all the things that I did, and did I take some bad steps? I wouldn't call them bad, actually. Let me.
You learned lessons
from that. I took some many steps. Here's one truth. Back in the day, student athletes weren't prepared for life. We were playing sports and we were on the top of every totem pole. But being that we couldn't get paid, being that we couldn't go ahead and get adequate work experience, when we were done, we had to get knocked off the totem pole and start from the bottom. And I would say that after the professional stuff didn't work out the way that I wanted it to, I knew I wanted to trade. I moved to Chicago. I knew I was trying to find a job where I could be in the financial industries, trading in the markets, right? I didn't do my due diligence well enough. I ended up getting a job. My first initial job out of college was with Northwestern Mutual. Not speaking ill about it at all, but it wasn't what I was looking for. It was a different segment of the financial industry.
Right.
And not to say I wasn't doing what I had to do to be successful, because I was in the heart of Chicago. I got connected with young black professionals leagues where we played flag football, softball. I'm talking who's who of young black professionals, entrepreneurs, engineers, nurses, doctors, lawyers, people aspiring to be doctors. There was a whole slew of people that I had connected with, and it was one of those things where it's like, hey, let's connect. We're gonna do this. But my time in Chicago was done, and I ended up moving up this way. First job I got was at the Minneapolis Grain Exchange, working on the trading floor, which I loved. It was kind of like, again, that was my first experience of doing what I saw in trading places. And after that, it was a string of some other gigs because the trading floor closed, and I eventually worked my way to where I'm at now. And, it's a merchandising role. So basically what it is that I do is I work with a crush facility that we have here in Minnesota, where the originators and other people, I know this might go over people's heads, but that I work with deal directly with the farmers who are planting the seeds, whether it be corn, wheat, and other commodities. Those are the most popular, right?
You work with FFA?
Who?
The Future Farmers of America, FFA?
I don't have to work with them directly, but I work with them a little bit. And yes, they were at the ag summit that I spoke at last year. But working with the farmers and getting the seed, working, doing the logistics, getting it to the plant facility, and then me working with the customers on the trades and trading the oil to the customers. It's what I want to do. You look at my bookshelf and it's riddled with trading books and the history of trading and traders and big time traders and so forth. Like, I have a passion for that stuff. I love that stuff. And it's cool for me to have conversations with, young Black professionals also about it. Like, one thing is that as of recent, I met 3 young folks that are coming, that hail from HBCUs. One of them came from Alcorn. Another came what was it? I think it was North Carolina A&T. I have 2 of them from, right? And they were doing internships and just got a chance to sit down and chop it up with them. The one cat that went to Alcorn, he was literally the first Black person that I've ever met that grew up on a farm. And he grew up. They grew up in Mississippi, a little sharecropping farm in Mississippi. First, literally, in my almost 40 years, he was the first Black farmer I had ever met in person. And that's it's crazy to think, right? But most farmers that I deal with, they're millionaires next door. Like, you wouldn't think that they have as much money as they have, but they do. And then shortly after, a week after, when I was at the summit speaking, there was a huge inclusion diversity aspect of it. So they brought in a lot of different different races of people that farm. And I met my second Black person who grew up farming, and she grew up from the northern states, and she grew up on a family farm. And I was just like, man, I did not, pardon my ignorance, I did not know that still existed. And I mean, you would think that it does, but we don't know that. We don't know that stuff exists because we know what our American history has told us. But man, the idea behind it, there's so much power in it, right? Because it speaks to ownership. And that's the one key element that I talk to my kids about all the time. It's like ownership. What do you own? Everything that you should go about doing in life is about ownership. Own as much as you can of everything you can. And when you talk to farmers and realize that they own this land, they farm this land, they harvest this land, they sell that product and they make money. It's like, think about that. Think about the other ways to make money, because there's so many different ways to be successful and to set up your dreams and your goals on what it is that you want to do. It's just that we have to be made privy of that information, those resources, that knowledge, that the fact that we can get that job, because everybody they don't want to do the glitz and glam. They want the glitz and glamour all the time, but it's like, you do understand that there's people that work in waste management. There's millionaires that work in waste management, but you wouldn't think like, oh, I'm going to go into waste management. But there's money there, right? Like there's a whole bunch of money, because everybody has to get rid of their waste. So
I definitely wanted to just appreciate y'all for to tapping in and sharing information and dropping knowledge and jewels and gems for any and everybody to catch, young and old, because I guarantee you there's some seasoned people watching this podcast to share with and, I had to be nice about it, that are sharing this with other people. But last thing I wanted to do before we get out of here. Y'all. I'm putting y'all on the spot, and I'm gonna be nice about it. I'm not gonna put you on the spot like I had talked about, but this one is a little different. I want y'all to just speak about what basketball was like for us back in 2002. Like the talent pool was so deep. Like think about this. When was the last time there was 2 state championships from the same area?
I don't know.
We actually had. Remember, there was 4. It was in a what was it like a 30-mile radius because it was us, La Follette, Marshall, and
oh yeah, Marshall was deep too because those boys played with us too.
They had the Crows, yeah,
the Crows and Jamal Lee,
and yeah. So and then there was like one more team that was right around this area that won. I want to say Columbus, but I could be wrong. And we had good teams. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, and I'm gonna give homage to McFarland and that crew. The Hockett's and Feldners and Kitendalls and all of them. They were a solid team. I mean, they were Division II. Obviously, in 2002 we won state, and they were ranked number 1 the entire year. We were number 2. They were in our conference. They beat us twice, and the third game we beat them in the regional championship. A huge game.
You beat them when it counted,
and we beat them when it counted, and we always did. You had the Flowers in La Follette, and they were ranked. They were ranked probably like 3, 4, Division I because Middleton was ranked 1 throughout that whole year because they had
David Berghofer's big ass.
Yeah, and he's 6'11" and all these different things. And again, Division III, you had the Crows and they could play. So there was always talent around here, no matter what. There was always talent around. It's just like I said earlier, people couldn't put it together. We were blessed enough to have, I'm just going to say it, arguably the best coach that came through this damn state in Coach Z, Chris Wetler, a prodigy of Bo Ryan, and the dude coached us up. He taught us the game. He gave us so much knowledge about the game, and we just kind of took it upon ourselves from there. You know what I'm saying? It was a fun ride. It was a great ride. Do y'all
tell people like y'all beat NBA Steve Novak for the championship? And I don't remember which one of y'all it was, but one of y'all had him and held him for like 2 points.
Adriel locked him down, man.
So it was like 2 points. It was just 2 free throws.
Yeah, he had 4 points. 4 points. Tip back and then 2 free throws. 4 points, and he was averaging 42 points a game.
Nah, it was like for the playoffs, I think it was like 38-5, but for the season, it was like 29 something. But I don't talk about that stuff.
Yeah.
Like I don't tell the stories only when I have to, but I tell the story more so in how it happened, and this is how it happened. I can tell you how all that stuff worked. But before I get into that, I think the common denominator, if you break it down on how Alvah just presented it, there's a camaraderie that was unmatched that year.
Yeah.
What's the common denominator if you break it down? If you could break it down.
I was going to say, once you said camaraderie, I was like, it was family. Always, yes, we were all family. We were all competitive against each other. But at the end of the day, once y'all went to state, once La Follette went to state, guess who we was rooting for? Yeah. Our brothers.
100%.
But that's what I'm saying though. Even on a macro level, yeah, we were all family. We were all about it. But on a micro level, Alvah said Edgewood. Who did Edgewood have that were the front runners? Hansbro twins.
The 2 ugly dudes on this podcast.
Absolutely.
Who did La Follette have?
The Flowers brothers.
They had 3 brothers, and then Quincy. He said who did Martin have?
The Crows, both brothers.
There was this makeup of these teams that had family on it, and I think like I know I don't know the Crows. I don't know. I can't speak to them at all, but I can speak to what made, and you remember this, Mal, because what made the McFarland so good. They were the exact same team at the YMCA when we were
the chemistry.
Fourth grade. Since fourth grade, third grade, they've all of those kids that Alvah just named that McFarland played together. They were the most seasoned team because they all went up to McFarland and played together. Then you got the Flowers. I know how close they were. Like you can't match a family dynamic that gets to be on the court or the field at the same time. Like you can't do it, right? Then you talk about us and the Twins. What we used to always call it, we would always say we would Hansbroize people.
That's funny.
To Hansbroize people it was this weird thing because I remember freshman year. So me and Alvah went back to Twin Talk when we were freshmen. And most people don't understand the concept because they're not twins. But Twin Talk for us, when you talk Twin Talk, they say a lot of identical twins make their own language when they're babies. And that's how they communicate with each other. Well, we did the same thing when we got older. So when we first got to Edgewood, that was what got us through freshman year. Because the people that didn't know us would always be like, oh, well, twins don't talk to anybody else but each other. They always talk to each other. And it's like, we're not talking to each other. We're just doing our own thing. We don't know y'all. We know each other. So our attitudes, our temperament, how we do things, we bring other people to us. We don't necessarily go gravitate towards what they're doing. Now, do we adapt? Do we absorb some of the stuff around us? Absolutely. And that's what I think we did with Edgewood basketball when we had the opportunity.
Senior year.
And it was a collaboration of what Coach Z knew, what he saw, what he was being told, and what he had no choice but to open up with. And he had that conversation with us. It's kind of like a scene from a movie where it was kind of, he sat us down and was like, look, I want you two to go out there and do your own thing, but you're going to do it within my system.
And under your umbrella, that umbrella.
Because you haven't said a thing, man. Go do your thing, and let's see where this thing takes us. And he'll tell you to this day the reason why he loved that team so much is because we were all willing to do everything. But then again, though, what people also don't know is we had some ballers on that squad, man. Like,
oh man, listen.
But then
be one of the most underrated players to come from around here.
But you also can't sleep on Wally Longo. Wally Longo was a Spartan. Bobby Grady was a Spartan. Like they didn't play on the West Side. They didn't play in prep leagues. They went over to the South Side Spartans, and that's where they played.
And that's
you know what I mean? Like
play their game. Yeah.
We had people that could ball. Like we had dudes that knew how to do the things, and they knew that it was in their best interest to follow the leaders of the team. And we did not sell them short because it wasn't like we were dogging sprints. No, we won them all. It wasn't like we were dogging in practice. Nope. We were
always in front.
We pride ourselves. And this was the one thing. We probably hit Coach Z with the jersey tug more than any player he's ever had.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, Coach Z, take me out. I need a break, man. It's like, and I can't relate to kids that don't play that hard. Like, we left it all out on the field, all out on the court every single time we went out there, and we didn't expect anything less from our teammates. And if our teammates didn't uphold what standard we had, they knew,
and we let them know.
They found out about it
100%.
And if they didn't like us for it, they didn't like us for it. But guess what? While you're out here, while you're playing with us, while you're doing this thing with us, we have a vision. We're going to go get it. You're either going to meet us there or you ain't going to be with us. You're not going to be with us, point blank, period. And Coach Z knew that. And he knew that that coming into it, it was like I learned this at a young age. Sorry, and I know I'm getting a little winded, but I knew this at a young age because I found out because this is how we were taught. It was 7th grade. We were playing a game and we won the game. We were leaving, and we weren't allowed to ever look at the book. My father completely prohibited that. So we had to start calculating and counting stuff in our head if we wanted to know what we scored. So we're driving home. He's driving. He said, "All right, how y'all think y'all played today?" And we're like, "Oh, we did all right. We did good." Okay, well, how many points did you score? And I was like, 25. And he would always hit us with the devil's advocate with it, right? Well, you would have had 30 if you would have had 30 if you hit those. You ain't missed those 5 free throws. Like that's how my father used to hit us with, right?
Absolutely.
Like, all right, Pop. And he's like, well, how many points did your the person you were guarding score? And I'm like, I don't know. He was like, 15. I'm just like, okay. And so I didn't say it like that though. You know, he was like, okay, yeah. And he's like, so how many points did you actually score? And you know, we're still young. It was going over our head. I'm like, I don't know, 20, 25.
Yeah.
Right.
He's like, no, you didn't. You gave up 10, or you gave up 15. And you scored 25. So technically, you only contributed to 10 points.
100%.
And that was the day that we learned that busting somebody on defense was more important than busting somebody on offense. You're going to embarrass somebody that thinks they the dude by shutting them down and they can't score more so than if they're defending you and you hit 25 or 30 on them.
Yep.
They're not going to be embarrassed that you hit 30 on them, but they're going to be embarrassed that they didn't get their 20, 25. Yep. And I teach that to the kids these days, and I call it the net value. What is your actual net value? How many points did you score and how many did you give up? So
shout out to Adriel Hansbro for shutting down Steve Novak to 4 points in the most watched game of the season for that time frame.
We were not supposed to win that game on paper.
We were not. That boy was
on paper. No,
we were not supposed to win that game on paper.
The funniest thing ever was that summer afterwards, because I know you guys didn't play basketball afterwards because you guys went off to play football at NIU. But it was like me, Tyler Enda, Dave Bergaffer, Matt Capps. Like we all ended up going to play in tournaments together. And we played against Steve Novak, Ray Nixon, Danny Grunfield, a super loaded team. And we battling them till double overtime. And it was just like, man, to see about all these guys, they end up going to the highest level of Division I, from Stanford to Wisconsin to Marquette. And none of us, I want to say Quincy might have gone to the highest level, which was Creighton, but he didn't stay and went D2 afterwards. But it was just the talent that we had and go against each other and just what we were able to accomplish without having any name or any recognition. And like that just speaks to the level of talent that we had and that goes overlooked for forever here.
100%. That was the only other team we lost to is Ray Nixon. So we lost to McFarland twice and then Ray Nixon and wife is Bay Dominican. And so first half, we was tearing them apart. Ray literally at halftime, we walking off. He grabbed me and Adriel. He says, "Twins, man, y'all need to slow down, man. Come on, y'all. Like, stop." And they came out second half, and they played a 1-3-1. And they put Ray at
the top. I knew it. Length and athleticism, stupid.
We went cold. I think we
could, and we got so cold. And that was it. But you know what? Honestly, like we played, Brown Deer. We did our thing, and I'm gonna tell you, we went. We should have set the record for the largest deficit in the championship game that next one, but Coach Z didn't know about it, and so he put in the subs because another thing that people don't know that they didn't know is that we averaged 9 people in double figures our senior year. 9 people scored double figures, averaged double figures every game. That was the one thing people didn't know. And then the other one was the fact that we may have played in 6 fourth quarters that whole time. 6 fourth quarters we played in that whole year.
Well, for an extended time, yeah.
For an extended time. I mean, we may have started it, but we came out after a minute or two, and that was it. And that was a pride thing for us because we wanted to see the people on the bench play too. We wanted them to,
and wanted them to score and cheer louder for them than they were cheering for y'all.
Yeah, we were 100% on their bandwagon, man.
Yeah, but one thing about Steve Novak though, after he got those 4 points, we were like, man, he trash. He ain't nothing. He came in, he played on my all-star team, and coach, he was a coach, and we were playing, that WBCA, and we were practicing at Edgewood and stuff. First and foremost, they were all like, no wonder y'all won state. This is how y'all practice, But after that, that's the best shooter I've ever seen in my life, man. That boy, you put that ball in that hand, it was zoom, zoom, zoom. Like, I was like, do you miss? Like, that boy was phenomenal.
He was a cool cat too. He wasn't a punk. He was a cool dude. And
he was cool as shit. He was.
But yeah, man, on paper, we weren't supposed to, like, we had our tallest person was 6'2". We had about, it was 5'11", 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2" starting lineup. And they had what, 6'5", 6'8".
He was
6'9", 6'11",
6'10".
Yeah.
6'9", this big Sasquatch, 325 pound dude, like just could move. And on paper, no, man. But so we're sitting there, Coach Z. I remember like it was yesterday. And you gotta give it his knowledge of the game, man. The way that he broke things down, the way he was organized, the way he was structured. And I've seen other coaches, and I'm just like, what is this? I would ask players like, what are y'all doing? Oh, I don't know. Y'all don't know what y'all do next? No, they'll just tell us once we get there. Once we get back, I'm like, oh, what offense y'all run? I don't know. It's like a motion of some sort. I was like, can y'all not tell me anything about what goes on in y'all basketball stuff? And I was so dumbfounded by it because I'm just like, how do you even manage anything? Because we didn't know anything. Coach Z had the entire practice written on his whiteboard behind him. He had it on
his note card.
On a note card that he had in his pocket. Everything was structured. Everything was timed. We did everything with a purpose, right? And so here we are in the meeting and in the scouting report. And we walk in there, no name. It's just stats on the board. And he gets to start talking. And he's like, so this is what we're going to play. It says, All-American, all of this, all of that. Varsity since this. Been the leading scorer since this. Been averaging this all his high school career. Just rattling off every stat imaginable under the sun that you would think and be like, man, who is this dude? This dude is balling. And then on top of it, and he's 6'10", he's going to Marquette, he's got Steve Novak. And he pauses and he says, Adriel, I want you to guard him. I was like, Coach Z, you ain't said a thing. That's exactly how I said it. He was like, that's exactly what I expected you to say. And I was just like,
and what's crazy is for people that know y'all, that don't surprise too many people. People that do not know y'all, they're gonna be like, really? That wasn't a surprise at all.
And we got the ball. We have 5 dudes.
My chin in his chest. All he had to do was turn around, back me up, hit me with the dirt.
He ain't want that smoke.
That's all he had to do though. But
I super appreciate y'all coming on and spending this time with me. Y'all are definitely going down as this is the 3rd season. This is the longest episode we've had, and I know in fact we could keep going for another hour or two, but I want to make sure people get a chance to go ahead and watch the Sunday night football game and finish doing what they got to do with their kids.
Absolutely.
Man, if y'all ever want to get back on, let me know, because I know there's stuff that we didn't get into, whether it be the decision to go to the school you went to, fatherhood, things of that nature. So we can always jump back into this. But I just wanted to tell y'all thank you for sure from the bottom of my heart. We
appreciate you, man. We appreciate you. Appreciate what you're doing, because see, this is the thing, man. This is exactly what we need, and we need this, and we need you, and we need people like you putting this out there and letting those voices be heard, because you know what, man, that's empowering, homie. that's empowering. And we love, and it's all love. And since day one, you always been there. We always been there for you, and that ain't gonna stop. So absolutely appreciate.
I knew once I reached out to y'all was gonna be down with it. So I'm gonna do the outro. Y'all stay on for a second, and then I'll be back in 2 weeks. So y'all make sure that y'all tap in, tune in, and appreciate y'all. Peace.
Hey, peace out.